Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar today. We're joined by Leanne McLoughlin, the Health and Safety Operations Manager from BAM Ireland, my colleague Jamie Harper, who's a Senior Recruitment Specialist within Health and Safety at Vickerstock, and myself, James Manley, the Recruitment Business Manager for Health and Safety Ireland at Vickerstock. So today's webinar is based around the Construction Industry Federation's Construction Safety Week 2021. The aim of the Construction Safety Week is to call on all construction companies, organisations and individuals working in construction to get involved in Construction Safety Week 2021. It's to celebrate best practice, to reinforce and promote the importance of safety, health and overall well-being in work and life. Today's topic or focus, which Leanne will support, is around the coaching and influencing of proactive safety in the workplace. Based on this, we welcome Leanne to the webinar. Leanne, if you'd just like to introduce yourself for us.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Leanne McLoughlin. As James has said, I'm the Health and Safety Operations Manager for BAM Ireland. I've been in this role now since 2019, when I returned from a longer than anticipated stint in the UK. I left Ireland originally in 2009 when the boom burst, and I went working in the UK with a company called 𝐈𝐧𝐼𝐺𝐿. Really, I suppose from there, that enabled me to grow into the role that I'm currently in now with BAM.
Okay, how long have you been in the role with BAM now?
Since so I joined in June 2019.
Okay.
As I said, I came back from the UK, family reasons, you know, aging parents, and stuff like that, and family called. So that's what brought me back home. Okay,
very good. Okay, if we just get into some of the topics. Do you want to just sort of introduce us to some of the ideas you've got around the sort of proactive health and safety culture within BAM?
Yeah, I suppose you're kind of influenced by people you meet in your career and ideas you're exposed to, and I would have been greatly influenced by a number of people I would have worked with in the 𝐈𝐺𝐼𝐺𝐼 business. One person in particular would be John Green, and he opened, I suppose, my mind up to safety differently principles, and that, you know, is a very different kind of approach, move away from traditional safety, kind of, you know, reactive responses to safety.
Okay. Yeah.
So really what we're embarking on in BAM at the moment is, you know, this whole thing of, if you continually look in your rear view mirror, yeah, you're not going to see what's coming in front of you. So a shift away from, you know, being 100% focused on that and balancing it more with a little bit of proactive safety. So one of the tools we've recently introduced is called the plan versus actual. So again, something that I was exposed to in my time in 𝐈𝐺𝐼𝐺𝐼, but it's a really good tool, because really what it is about understanding how work is actually done, okay, as opposed to how work is imagined. So lots of time and energy and effort goes into planning work and, you know, imagining how work is going to be carried out. But the reality of how work is carried out can be some quite time, you know, very different, and that can be influenced by the social environment, the physical environment, you know, the resources available, and all those kind of things can contribute. So we've embarked on carrying out these kind of reviews with the troops, as I call them, on the ground, and it's amazing what you'll find out and what you'll learn.
Okay, does that mean that from a safety perspective, the safety people are having to integrate and meet up with different departments, different operational parts of the business?
Yeah, well, it's not really I don't see this as something that just safety people do, because it's really important. So the plan versus actual tool, quite a lot of the operational guys get involved in it, because they're quite involved in the planning of work and the development of the method statements and the risk assessments, particularly in BAM. So it's not unheard of or uncalled that a project manager along with maybe an engineer and the safety advisor would go out to do a review. And the feedback we've had is absolutely phenomenal. The guys enjoy it. It's an opportunity to go out to kind of understand what how the guys perceive the work, and it's really interesting to see what their risk perception is really about. And that's just from a health and a safety perspective, because health issues within the construction industry are very much around they're latent issues, so they may not, because people don't suffer the consequences of the impact of them immediately. Sometimes they're not as prevalent. So it's an opportunity for the guys to get out and do some coaching about the noise, the hand down vibration, the silica dust, all those kind of things, that risks that exist in our industry.
Okay, so is there ongoing training and development of the safety professionals?
Yeah, so one of the things we're just about embarking on in BAM at the moment is kind of like a mentoring program. So our health and safety professionals, quite a few have been with the business quite some time, and it's about building their portfolio. I'm a massive believer in learning and reading and maintaining a very open mindset. So it's encouraging that amongst our professionals that we engage, and building. So there's conversations going on at the moment around new and emerging risks in our industry as we shift a little bit more towards modular or off-site delivery. So items such as lifting and precast and temporary works and those kind of things.
Yeah, that historically would have been more in the sort of manufacturing type of environment.
Yeah, exactly, Jamie. So it's an opportunity for health and safety professionals to really get into the ribs of those kind of risks and understand the impact of those, because tower cranes are now so they really are the main artery of projects. So it's really understanding all about lifting operations or temporary works or whatever. So it's given people an opportunity to specialize into a particular new or emerging kind of risk area, and that will enable them to build their portfolio. So it's an exciting time.
And do you think that's a relatively new concept within BAM particularly?
Well, it is certainly within BAM. I mean, it's something that I was exposed to in my time in the UK, and I felt it was beneficial to be able to kind of focus on one particular thing rather than trying to, because there's so much to know, and I think people don't really appreciate how much a health and safety professional needs to kind of grasp and understand across the health and the safety and well-being. But it's an opportunity to focus in on something that you have a particular interest in, and become quite specialized in that. Notwithstanding, you still need to maintain your CPD across the other aspects, but it's just, if you've got a particular interest, it allows you to explore that.
Okay, how's it been received by the safety team? Are they generating a sort of curiosity? Are they taking it on board? Yeah,
there's definitely some excitement around it. I think it's been received very positively.
Good.
Because it's an opportunity. As I said, a lot of people they see health and safety professionals as kind of the traditional, he or she comes with their clipboard and their checklist and it's all about paperwork. Whereas really, it's not. It's more about being completely integrated into the team. Being the person that will I suppose ask the question and be curious and how did these happen? And there's a big drive, and the operational guys will tell you in BAM, oh, here comes Leanne, and she's always out about don't make assumptions. And it's all about questioning and querying our assumptions, and what if we base them on? Is it an emotional thing, or is it actually factual? And really being curious around those things. It astounds me the amount of times that people will say to me, oh, well, I don't do that because, oh, there's no point because that's what they're going to say. But you don't know. Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
why are you making up the person's mind for them? Like, let them do that themselves, you know? So it's strange. But I think these are the kind of things that people drift into, you know, and it takes a different kind of a mindset to go, let's not make assumption here. Let's go and ask the question, and let's test to see, do we actually, you know, really know what, or are we just making assumptions?
And does that sort of steer your recruitment process or your hiring process? Do you look for people that show traits of being curious and ask lots of questions? And
yeah, I think, you know, like health and safety professionals nowadays, I mean, the amount of time that we spend with people, it is a massively people-focused role, you know. And I think traditionally, as I said, it was seen very much as a kind of like a tick box and paperwork and all that kind of stuff, very litigation focused, you know, where now it's more, it's about understanding human skills. As Simon Sinek says, they're human skills, not people skills, but human skills. You know, it's about maintaining open mindset. It's all of those kind of things. And for me, you know, an individual coming into being a health and safety professional nowadays needs to have, you know, good communication skills. Be curious, you know, not just come in with a very, you know, fixed mindset, but be open, because there's so much change and innovation happening in the industry. You have to remain to things that are happening.
Yeah, so you need people who are adaptable and don't always come in and say, well, this is how we've always done it.
Oh, if I had a euro for every time I was told this is the way we've always done it,
Exactly.
I'd be a very wealthy woman.
Just mention just briefly about some of the safety differently principles. I think we'd mentioned that. What can you tell us about that? What does that mean?
Safety differently principles, as I said, you know, I was first kind of exposed to it all through John Green, and really it's about, you know, people being seen as the solution and not a problem. You know, there's there's an assumption that, you know, somebody to come work on a construction site, you know, oh, well, he's just a steel fixer, he's just this, he's just that. But like, people are so much more, you know, and it goes back to, you know, assumptions again, that, you know, oh, if we could only control people, then we wouldn't have any accidents on site. I mean, that's just crazy stuff, you know. So really, without people, you don't have a business, you know, projects don't get built. You know, and that was very evident back in the pandemic, you know, when the construction industry stopped, you know, the projects didn't build themselves. They all stood there, you know. So, you know, if there was ever kind of a time where it demonstrated how important people are to our industry, it was through that whole lockdown process. So, you know, people being the solution rather than something that needs to be constrained or managed or controlled. And really, you know, engage with people. People see risk very differently. You know, again, the COVID pandemic was a huge, you know, demonstration of that, where, you know, some people were, you know, terrified and some people were not. And, you know, it's just people have different perceptions. So you need to be, you know, open to understanding why people think the way they think or perceive things as they do. So really, you know, safety differently is about no longer being that traditional, we need loads of checklists and we need to, you know, chase your man down the site to make sure he signs that toolbox talk. So if anything goes wrong, you know, we can go there, you know, we told you. So it's a kind of a move away from that and more of a focus around safety should be seen as a positive. So it should be more around being involved in the planning, making sure we're planning work for success. Not, you know, over here planning that if it goes wrong, we're covered from a litigation perspective. And it should really be, you know, question and query the amount of bureaucracy we do. Why do we do it? Okay, we've got legal, you know, obligations and we need to fulfill those. But, you know, after an incident, you know, in BAM, if the guys come to me after an incident and say, oh, I've done a toolbox talk, they know what they're going to get from me going, no, not good enough. Yeah, because that's, you know, that's like in 1980s music, you know, it's had its day, it's gone. You know, we need to think about things differently and do things differently. So it's been, safety differently has been more open really to understand people, seeing people as the solution, looking at safety through positive means, as opposed to, oh, it's just about your incident frequency rate, or it's just about litigation, and just planning better for success.
Okay. Understanding why.
Yeah. How are you finding the operational teams are receiving it? Are they quite open to talking about the process, talking about what goes into the build?
I'm really lucky in BAM. I have some great guys, really, really great guys, who are really curious around stuff. And I suppose when I came, it was kind of like, where has this person come from? Because it was a different way of thinking, you know, completely. It's like everything, you know, if you trundle along in your own little world, and it's only through, you know, for me, it's reading a book or watching a TED talk or something like that, where you really, you know, kind of have to stop and reflect and go, think about that. But no, I've got a great team of guys. We've got regular forums now where, you know, once a month we have a session with the construction directors, and we, you know, what's going on in your world, what's going on in my world, what can we do together, you know. There's absolutely great support. And that, you know, the whole way down through the organization, it's really, really good. There's certainly an appetite for, you know, we can't continue to hurt people, and there's an appetite for, you know, let's try something different, rather than, you know, maybe if we pedal faster, you know, and harder, things will get better. It's about, you know, what do we need to do to be a little bit smarter here and do things a little bit different.
Yeah, because you generally find that human nature, if people are asked to talk about what they do and talk about themselves, they're normally quite happy to do it. So if you're getting people to openly discuss their own job role, their own job function, tell me more about what you do, tell me more about how we can help, surely that's a good thing. Yeah,
for sure. And I mean, it's, you know, it's coaching. It's kind of informal coaching is what I do with the guys. Yeah. So I'm not there to provide the solutions for them, because, you know, the guys know. It's just sometimes they just need, you know, an ear or a question, or to turn something, you know, flip it completely over. And the amount of times when I play back what they have said to me, they kind of go, did I say that? Is that what I said? Yeah. It's amazing what they will figure out. So, you know, absolutely, you know, great bunch of guys, really kind of, you know, up for the challenge, know that we can't continue to do things like we did, you know, in yonder years. There's so much innovation, you know, there's great work going on in BAM at the moment around, you know, BIM and building, you know, common data environments and learning and all that kind. So it's a great place to be.
Great, thanks, Leanne. Obviously, BAM being one of the main sponsors of the Construction Safety Week, what does the rest of the week look like for you? Have you got much
Busy.
on? Busy.
Busy. Yeah, so I'm speaking at the CIF annual summit on Friday. So I was asked to sit on one of the panels that's talking about you know, the move towards kind of off-site modern methods of construction, and you know, the health and safety risks involved in that, because it's a different construction model, and therefore there's different aspects to consider. So yeah, so quite excited about that. And you know, through the week then it's, you know, out on projects tomorrow, seeing what's going on. All our projects have been very proactive and have organized, you know, crane simulators and you know, work and height demonstrations and all kinds. So yeah, some great events planned this week.
Great. Thanks, Leanne. Jamie, you anything to add?
No, I think it's just really exciting to see that there's so much happening, really, and the companies are taking that initiative to really, you know, raise the awareness for construction. I know it's once a year, but I'm sure it's continual inside businesses that, you know, it's always discussed.
Yeah.
This is
Now,
good to raise the awareness.
Are you finding that the demand on safety people is increasing? Are you looking?
Yeah, I think a couple of things kind of created a bit of a vacuum. Yeah, for health and safety professionals. I know some of our own supply chain who, you know, would have been the smaller end would have maybe retained, you know, kind of consultants. And when COVID hit, they just didn't find them accessible enough. So they kind of took people on directly to manage the whole COVID piece and the health and safety elements for them. So that created a bit of a vacuum. And I think, you know, when you've got some large projects across the country at the moment, you know, there's a bit of a vacuum into those for the data centers and, you know, the Intels and so on and so forth. So, and the other thing is, I don't think we do enough at school level. You know, a lot of people say to me, you know, health and safety, construction, how did you end up there? You know what I mean?
For sure.
And I don't think we do enough to promote, you know, the health and safety professions across the schools, for people to understand, you know, what a great profession it is. And, you know, if people are interested in, you know, construction, or if they're interested in, you know, working with people, or interested in innovation and stuff like that, you know, it's an absolutely fantastic field to get into. So I think there's an awful lot more we can do, and certainly to raise the gender balance in construction, I think is a big challenge. Yeah.
Are you finding that there's a bit of a shortage of good health and safety people in construction?
Yeah, I think there's always challenges around construction, because unfortunately it's quite, you know, transient, and, you know, you build a project and you move on. And sometimes, certainly some people, you know, that I've engaged with are kind of, you know, drawn towards, I suppose, Jamie, your kind of market, where the factory doesn't move. You know, I could go and work there, and I'm not going to, you know, suddenly in 18 months' time have to up sticks and go down the road to another project. You know, it's a little bit more stable. And I think, you know, there is an awful lot of construction going on in the eastern part of the country.
There is.
And I think for a lot of people, it's like, do they really want to come and work in Dublin, where, you know, rental costs or commuting costs or whatever it is so high at the moment. I think there's challenges there, that a lot of people coming out of college are kind of going, because I mentor some students coming out of college, and a lot of what they're thinking is, do I really want that, or would I be better off, you know, getting a job in a factory that is a little bit more kind of stable, and factory environments tend to be a little bit more kind of predictable, whereas the construction sector is a little bit more, I suppose, you know, diverse and
changeable
and fluid.
Fluid. Yeah. Good. Okay. I think we've covered most of the points there, Leanne. So I just want to thank you for your time, and wish you all the best for the rest of Construction Safety Week.
Yeah, thanks, Leanne.
Oh, great. Listen, brilliant talking to you, James.
Yeah, lovely to chat to you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.